In a small concrete cell on death row, a man sits hunched over a metal desk. The light is harsh, the walls are bare. His body is still powerful, with broad shoulders and thick arms, a testament to a life of street fights and survival. But he's not pacing, he's not staring at the floor. He's writing. Carefully on lined paper, he pens messages for children he will never meet. Words meant to stop violence. Words meant to undo the damage caused by the very gang he helped create. This isn't fiction. This is the true story of Stanley Tookie Williams, co-founder of one of America's most notorious gangs, who tried to change the world from inside a prison cell. His life is an incredible journey of survival, power, collapse, and transformation. Let's start at the very beginning. Stanley Tookie Williams III was born on December 29, 1953, in New Orleans, Louisiana. It was a city alive with music and movement, but his own home life was anything but stable. His mother was only 17 when he was born, and his father disappeared before Stanley even turned 1. From the start, he grew up without a steady family structure. Money was tight, opportunities were few, and life was hard. When Stanley was 6, his mother made a decision she hoped would change everything. In 1959, she packed their few belongings and boarded a Greyhound bus to Los Angeles, California. She was chasing the promise of work, safety, and a better future. What they found instead was South Central Los Angeles. The neighborhood might have looked promising at first, but it was a place deeply divided. Overcrowded housing, underfunded schools, racial tension, constant police pressure were the backdrop to daily life. Violence was common, and stability was a rare luxury. Stanley grew up mostly on the streets. His mother had to work long hours, leaving him alone for much of the day. School quickly faded into the background as survival became his top priority. In 1965, the Watts riots erupted just a few miles away. Stanley watched the fires burn, the buildings collapse, and the anger spill out onto the streets. It taught him a powerful lesson early in life. Power mattered. Strength mattered. Weakness was punished. As a teenager, Stanley grew larger and stronger than most kids his age, quickly learned that fear could earn him respect. Petty crimes evolved into street fights, and street fights built a reputation. The streets offered him an identity when nothing else did. He picked up the nickname Tookie after mispronouncing his own name as a child, and by his late teens, everyone knew it. In 1971, Tookie met Raymond Washington, another teenager forged by the same harsh streets. They shared the same frustrations and the same feeling of being threatened by rival groups. Together, they formed a loose alliance of friends from their high school, called themselves the Crips. At first, it was meant for protection, a neighborhood watch group to defend their blocks and their families. The idea caught on, and the group grew rapidly. Too rapidly. By the mid-1970s, the Crips had spread like wildfire across Los Angeles. What began as a defensive pact turned into a battle for territory. Territory led to conflict, and conflict erupted into a full-blown war with rival gangs, most notably the Bloods. Soon, drugs entered the picture. Power became the ultimate prize, and violence escalated to terrifying levels. Tookie Williams became one of the most feared figures in all of South Central LA. He lived a life surrounded by followers, weapons, and constant danger. But that lifestyle came with a price. Arrests, prison time, and an ever-present instability. Each sentence only seemed to harden him further. Then came 1979. During a series of robberies in February and March, 4 people were killed. A convenience store clerk in Whittier, a motel owner, his wife, and their daughter in Los Angeles. Tookie was arrested and charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder. The 1981 trial captured national attention. Prosecutors painted him as a ruthless, violent gang leader. His defense argued there was no physical evidence directly tying him to the murders. Despite his claims of innocence, the jury found him guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to death. Tookie was sent to San Quentin State Prison, where he would spend the next 24 years on death row. For most, this is where the story would end. But for Tookie, it was where his story truly changed. In the stark isolation of his cell, he began to read. He read everything he could get his hands on: history books, philosophy, psychology, political theory. He educated himself deeply, reflecting on his past and the immense damage his actions had caused. Over time, he underwent a profound transformation. He publicly renounced the Crips and issued apologies for the violence that was born from its creation. From his tiny prison cell, he co-wrote 9 children's books, all with a powerful anti-gang message. The stories encouraged education, self-worth, and peaceful choices. They were distributed worldwide and translated into multiple languages, reaching kids in communities he could only imagine. He even helped support the Protocol for Peace, a truce effort between rival gangs that successfully reduced violence in Los Angeles. His work started gaining international attention between 2001 and 2005. He was nominated multiple times for the Nobel Peace Prize. Religious leaders, activists, and public figures rallied to his side, supporting a campaign for his clemency. In 2005, as his execution date loomed, protests and petitions spread across the globe. Despite this massive wave of support, clemency was denied. On December 13, 2005, Stanley Tookie Williams was executed by lethal injection at San Quentin Prison. He was 51 years old. But his story didn't end there. His books remain in circulation, and his transformation continues to be debated. His life forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about justice, environment, and the capacity for change. His early life is a stark illustration of how deeply our environment can shape our choices. Poverty, a lack of role models, constant threat, and social exclusion can push people towards violence as a means of survival. But his later life shows us something else, something equally profound. It shows that human beings are capable of incredible change, even after causing extreme harm, and even in the most isolating of conditions. With reflection, education, and a new sense of purpose, behavior can shift in fundamental ways. Tookie's story leaves us with a final, lingering question. What is the true measure of a life? Is it defined by the worst things we've done, or by our efforts to repair the damage? Thanks for watching. Stay curious.